Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the last week here of regular play in Season 5 of the Nexus Gaming Series. So we're going to have to see tonight gillyShark sitting at the number 2 spot, but can Reborn Knights Black perhaps cinch their 4th place spot? I am your host, Cat Peach. I am here by the legended, bearded man himself, Muhammad. Muhammad, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for hosting and having me this evening as we get into this last week of the Nexus Gaming Series, at least a regulation play. And then we go into our playoffs, and there's wild card, I think, this weekend as well. So there's a lot of things going on. But this is a big week for a lot of teams. It can make or break some of the standings, but it can also shuffle the power, the power plays. So we'll have to really see here. But Cat Peach, we had some bans before this.
We had a couple bans in the forms of maps here. So gillyShark winning out on coin toss for today opted for first pick here in game number 1. They banned out Infernal Shrines, and for game 2 are bringing us to Cursed Hollow. However, for map number 1, we are being brought to Sky Temple by Reborn Knights, who banned out Volskaya Foundry. And both these teams showing, they're just like, we know your favorites. We're not letting those through. No, sir.
We were actually talking about this before the match actually started, and so I was like, yeah, I can pull up stats for Reborn Knights Black, and I was like, oh, I'll open a second instance so that way I can check the gillyShark stuff. It's just like, but we've seen so much of this, and it's exactly it. They're getting targeted out completely. That's going to be the Samuro that Stark always plays, and the Abathur that Kage Kiri is always playing on Sky Temple, and so definitely taking those away, but that still leaves things like Deckard and actually a first pick Diablo open. Do we see that synergy with the Phoenix and the Deckard down the road?
Ooh, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see that coming along. I mean, I think the teams have a really great understanding, especially with working with Jinxie Cat with that Diablo. It's definitely a favorite of hers to pull out in general, but also here on Sky Temple. So I think they're prepared to maybe lay down some slow synergy coming out. But we're going to have all warriors now picked up, it seems, in this game. Garrosh and Dahaka coming out. Got some global pressure on the side of Reborn Knights Black.
I actually like that as a pickup. The Garrosh offers a lot in these team fights, and the Dahaka with that global assault is just so powerful because of the fact that you can flank in any of these really, really open areas for these team fights. A lot of great bush availability for that Dahaka as well, but that's a Junkrat for probably Chest Litter, and that's going to be a Genji as well. And that's still a strong start, but when we go into this ban phase, we should be probably seeing a priority onto the support class, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think at this point, choking out those supports on both teams would probably be the way to go here. Banning out the Tronda, not wanting to deal with the Owl Connoisseur. How has your opinion of Tyrande been so far since the rework? Because we're seeing her kind of Bandor picked up quite a bit.
And I think she's really, really strong. She basically has a cleanse at level 1, and that would really, really go great into the Garrosh and the Dahaka. So taking that off the table is really strong. The vision from the Owl is very powerful. Overall, I think Tyrande is actually in a really, really great spot, especially in the pro scene. She's getting first pick, first ban material. So really strong. But the one thing I do want to note too is gillyShark doing their research, banning out that Tracer. I was skimming through some other. That is a favorite that pops up here and there for Reborn Knights Black.
We're getting double global, the Falstad pickup here for Reborn, followed with the Greymane too. I was gonna actually say when the Genji was picked up for gillyShark, how it's a bit playing with fire, picking up a Genji, going into a Garrosh, right? The fear of that taunt always being there. Both teams deciding they want a little bit of that dive potential coming out with the Greymane follow-up, so we're gonna get a Rhaegar Leoric here on the side of gillyShark. I don't think I was really expecting that Rhaegar, but I guess someone to go in with that Genji.
I guess they want to dive in together, and that's actually a really good point, because I was actually leaning into Uther. I was thinking the Divine Shield was going to, you go Divine Genji. That was what I was thinking, and maybe that was their intent, to maybe get that ban out so that way they could get the Tyrande, and they had to adjust to the Rhaegar. But either way, Stukov will round out the rest of the draft for Reborn Knights Black, and honestly, as a brawly as that team is, that Stukov offers so much for control into the fight as well as engagement. Having that massive shove to, single target disengage one person. So for example, Rhaegar gets massive shoved away. That leaves a lot of members open to not get healed or chain healed. So we'll see. And then, as you said, target lockdown from that Garrosh onto the Genji, that could be so big. It's both these teams have so many plays.
I know. And I mean, on the side with, Greymane kind of in the mix, the threat of Entomb coming out from that Leoric to punish as well. So there's tools on both sides here that, if utilized correctly, could cause quite the disaster for either of these teams. However, I'm kind of looking at these. We see a lot of focus, especially from gillyShark, on the boss control here on Sky Temple. And I'm trying to think of who wins that out here. I think both teams, especially, with Reborn having the Stukov being able to use the flailing swipe to perhaps push off the members of gillyShark away from that point. And so very interested to see how that goes over the course of this game.
The other thing too is to note is the Mighty Gust. I might have missed you mention that too, because that's a huge.
Ooh, yes.
But we'll go ahead and get into this game number 1. On the left-hand side, we will be having gillySharks with Chess Leader going to be on the Junkrat, Stark going to be on the Rhaegar, Jinxie Cat going to be on that Diablo, Kona going to be on the Leoric, and we will have Kagekiri on the Genji.
They're just spinning around there. In the red, we will have Reborn Knights Black. We are going to have, and oh my goodness, all these names are so overlapped. We're going to have the Pie Maker on Falstad, Pokecheck on Garrosh, Solskiddo on Stukov, Crafty Devil on Dahaka, and Dulch on that Greymane.
Let's go ahead and get into this, as both teams are going straight for this vision, and Pokecheck already stepping up into these members, maybe looking for that toss, but Leoric, realistically, not the best person, because they can just Wraith Walk right out of there.
Yeah, Wraith Walk away, no problem at all. And everyone just kind of rotating immediately to where they're supposed to be. The Pie Maker, knowing the fight is still available, maybe taking a bit more time in the mid, really thinking about those rotations. And just the cluster of Reborn being the first to rotate here into the bottom, trying to soak as many of these minions as fast as possible as a group.
And they're doing a great job of that too, being able to make these rotations and get that experience. That's huge. And the other thing too, Falstad going into that level 1 season marksman is a big aspect of that. Making these rotations and making sure that Falstad does get those stacks and getting that extra damage earlier in the game, that's huge for these later half fights. But the power of Greymane, going to go ahead and solo off this camp, but almost simultaneously on the left, we're going to be having gillySharks do the exact same thing.
Yeah, gillyShark, very much known for kind of that mercenary control. Not so, given the response time, seems like Reborn as well. And Merc control is really such a big part, especially with those camps in the bottom lane, being able to push that out and control the lane a bit sooner, as we talked about that boss control kind of at the end of the draft. So preparing those lanes as much as possible to get as much value out of that boss when the time does come.
And that's a great point to make, is because bottom lane does have a lot of value on this map. You get a lot of these top and mid shrines that pop up. You have catapult pressure that consistently bombards bottom. That's going to be really, really difficult, especially into a double global composition as Reborn Knights has. They can continually push up that bottom lane. And then let's talk post 20 with Apex Predator and Epic Mount with the 30-second reduction on both of those, being able to move across the map so quickly. That's absolutely huge for Reborn. But at the same time, gillyShark, they're going to be looking at it buried alive from the Leoric, which is going to be a huge talent for them, being able to just kind of shut someone down with no escape. Realistically, these teams, as the map progresses here, it's really going to be on who can get to that kind of pinnacle strong point the fastest.
Yeah, and we're getting to one of those points where we might see Reborn try to make that happen. A lot of focus on Stark. A lot of damage onto that Rhaegar, but it didn't necessarily prevent too much of that top push from really being negated with that camp. So a bit of an advantage for gillyShark going in for that, at least that top shrine. But with the double shrine, we'll have to see how both of these teams are going to want to split up their resources, who they want to control, and who potentially might go in for a little bit of a gank here on these points. Looks like Kagegiri is looking for it a little bit.
Yeah, they're trying to step up on this. Pokecheck is doing a really good job of canceling out the point. And if you didn't know this, if anyone in Twitch didn't know this, if you both step onto the point, it actually cancels it out and stalls it out, much like being contested on Alterac Pass with, channeling the prison camp. So it's just little things like that. It really, really does make a big difference as Pokecheck and GXC Cat are going to be battling that out. But meanwhile, we're going to be having Dahaka just sitting on that top point just fine. And this mid is going to be the real contest, as top's going to be going over for free. And the toss goes out on GXC Cat. This is a bit of a bad spot. The repositioning of the mine is going to knock the Pie Maker out of position. There's going to be the barrel roll, but the solo hit from Chest Looter will be the first kill of the game.
I really appreciated the Jinxie Cat Pie Maker double flip that was happening in that engage. Koenig, though, trying to suck some of the life out of Dolch there. But top control of that shrine seems pretty steady for Reborn. gillyShark going in right toward the end, but nothing to be gained. All shots going over, but that leaves Pokecheck kind of caught between a few of their members. We're going to see the rest of the team try to support that escape. Kagekiri flipping out of there. Just a little bit of poking and prodded. Nothing too much, though.
It's going to be really, really difficult for them to kill Pokecheck on the side of gillyShark because of the fact of that based armor, and a lot of the autos that are going to be coming from gillyShark will just be kind of mitigated by that armor reduction. So there's really not a lot of mage damage that'll be coming out here and to kind of burst them down, but we'll see here as Jinxie Cat might be in a bit of a bad spot, going to kind of reposition them, getting some healing off that Fire Stomp, but realistically looking for an out, no Shadow Charge available, and now they're in a bit of a bad spot as they dive in. They really need this. Stark going to be rounding the corner, the silence comes out, the Pie Maker chasing this as well. They get the knockback from the concussion mine, going to get the double pull in there, but no one dying just yet, and Boss has spawned.
Yeah, great response from Stark, being able to throw down the totem, slow a little bit of the chase onto Jinxie, who got a little bit eager in trying to collect some of those souls from those minions. But the great response from the rest of the team, making sure that Diablo sees another day.
And both teams will see another day as they also pick up these camps, but they could make the aggressive invade. And if Stark doesn't finish this quick enough, Chest Looter is sitting on this point. They're going to go ahead and capture it, and that is a little bit of a nail biter, as they honestly would have been able to get a decent kill with Pokecheck having that reposition from the toss there on Garrosh. But Jinxie Cat looking in this bush maybe for the engage. They could go in for this, Cat Peach.
Yeah, she's following up from behind, but I don't know necessarily if all of gillyShark would really want to commit to a 4v3 down here at the bottom. Going to see Falstad rotating through mid as the rest of Reborn. They're going to push with this camp that they just got for themselves here. While Chest Looter and Stark trying to at least whittle down their health a bit more, not let that push have the maximum amount of value. Going into the next temple, I would like to see... Oh, hold on. I would like to see if Pokecheck gets out of this alive. The Dragon Strike coming out. The damage is here. Kagegiri going behind enemy lives. The Ancestral in the Protect. Just barely making sure that Kage gets out of that dive.
They were also so close to getting that kill into poke check. That was absolutely just about 100 health or so. I saw really, really great play here, but we have the bottom altar being spawning at this time. Top lane has the Dahaka getting free push. They can burrow in at any point. Falstead's in mid trying to be addressed by that Liork, who I think is going to be going up into top, just trying to soak that up. As it's just poke check sitting on this point. They need to make some sort of step up. They need to make some sort of advancement onto this.
Yeah, I mean, the two members of Reborn out in the lanes are those with the global ability, so them being able to soak while also having control of this temple for the time being is huge for them. They committed 2 resources elsewhere, and gillyShark just afraid to really go in there. However, Stark not afraid to go in on Pymaker with the Assassin Rhaegar, you see.
I always love the interactions that you have with Rhaegar trying to get the lunging bite on someone while they actually have some sort of disengage, like barrel roll or Kerrigan. You know, actually there's little Kerrigan ones too where she leaps on someone who like flies. Like I've seen that one on YouTube here and there. But it's just those are always so cool, the interactions, as it pulled Stark quite deep there. But we do have Jinxie Cat going in, the toss comes out from poke check, the taunt is there, the cleanse comes out, silence is there as well, Riptire coming out, and they go for poke check, they get the butt bite and the Riptire, and that's huge, but Crafty Devil trying to get that flank with the isolation will get the tongue drag, getting the kill onto Rhaegar, Cat Peach.
Yeah, the healer is down, with Souls just being grabbed though. Diablo falling, Souls immediately reset, not being able to use advantage of him. X-Rite used for a bit of an escape on Kagekiri, and this will reset 1-1, and that was such a massive loss. Just the timing of the completion of that soul quest and immediately losing them all and having to start immediately from the beginning doesn't necessarily put gillyShark in the best place for the next couple minutes of this game, and they certainly can't do too much to defend this boss, but they're going to try to anyway, and there's that flailing swipe available to commit to it. The taunt goes out, Conan goes down, the Entomb ended up being his own prison there for a bit.
Leoric buried themselves as boss gets picked up and pushed down bottom lane. Now, I feel like they stepped up and they had an engagement, but it might have been one of those things where they called it too early, thinking that maybe, oh yeah, let's go in and get the engagement now. The other thing too is Leoric was so close to staying on that point, but the other thing too on top of that, Gust is still up from Falstead. They pick up this boss. There's a top and bottom temple activating here. Stark is getting some split pressure for top lane, but overall, this is a boss getting a small amount of value, but it definitely holds some map control as well as pushes them ahead in that experience. It's 12-13 right now, 2-3 in kills. Structures that were really starting to look in favor for the members of Reborn Knights Black.
Yeah, they're still holding on to that mid fort for the time being, and in terms, at least for the Shrine control, having this bottom lane pushed out so heavily in Reborn Knights' favor gives them a really great position for capitalizing on at least that bottom area to put in a bit more of that structural damage, and I think more importantly, just deny some kind of structural makeup potential on the side of gillyShark, who are now just focusing on this top. They're able to grab the vision back, but they're going to be down to just keeps after this, while their opponents have a bit more to retreat from. So a lot of these team fights that we're going to see later on in this game are going to be the jokes a bit trickier for gillyShark, given that they're not going to have those wells, and they're going to have to play a bit more carefully around those engagements.
I'm not sure how they react to this, because right now the macro play coming out from Reborn Knights Black is really powerful, and you can like, I'm looking at the minimap right now and just like trying to see how gillySharks can spread themselves to answer to this, but realistically they can't. They're going to be losing over a camp, they're going to be losing over bottom probably. They might be able to hold top, but there might be a quick response coming out from that Greymane and that Falstead, so that's an option as well. I don't know. I just looked over and I saw that Entomb play they just made, and I was like, man, I wish that they had gotten a little bit earlier for that fight. But looks like it's going to just be, these members holding this over for a few seconds here and waiting for Toms to come back for one team. But Cat Peach, This is still a great match. We are really, really close in levels and skills.
Yeah, I mean, we've sifted to kind of the top of the barrel in Division B East here. Now that we're getting toward the end of the season, like we said, Reborn Knights Black trying to really cinch that fourth place spot in the standings going into playoffs. gillyShark though still sitting there at second. Both the teams showing exactly why they're doing so well here in this season in this division. And so they're forces to be reckoned with, and they seemingly also being able to steady up on each other. They both seemingly have very similar styles of play as well, so they've had the time to really poke the holes through each other's compositions a bit. And so far, Reborn Knight just being able to show up and make a little bit more Swiss cheese out of gillyShark than vice versa.
I mean, yeah, definitely. It seems like they're playing the Genji role, just slicing and dicing a bit here.
Imagine,
no, I mean,
imagine Genji just as like a cheesemonger, right? Like you go to the deli and he's like, and you're just like, hey, I need like half a pound of smoked ham. He's like, I gotcha. If the ninja thing.
Would he yell "Dragon becomes me" every single time? Because like I would hate to, like,
so.
I would love to go there and get my deli items from him, but I would hate to be his coworker because, dear Lord, would that get so annoying for him to shout that in the store every single time. But right now it looks like we are just gonna see a couple members are talking about wanting to just use in-game voice or something. So we'll get this sorted out for you all. Thank you all so much for being here. If you are enjoying the stream, hit that follow button. Support this perfect streamer.
Totally,
also,
totally perfect, inconsistent streamer.
I mean, Blizzard is going to hire us very soon.
Yeah.
I'm calling it now, and so just it's time to get ahead of ourselves.
Listen. All I'm saying. So unfortunately, and I don't know if everyone heard this, but Kalaris not being the host this year for Here's the Storm BlizzCon leaves room for the redhead faction. We had Kalaris and Skimmy last year. Can't have Skimmy being all alone.
I wonder if it's like 2018 is the year of the bald dude because Lauren's in. That's just I'm next in line, right? I don't know how many other bald dudes there are casting Heroes of the Storm, but you know what? If Kalaris just wants to sneak in, he can just shave his head, and then it's a different host. There you go, Kalaris. If you're watching, because I know you are, just go ahead and do that, and you will become the Blizzard host.
Perfect disguise.
All of Blizzard, not just Heroes of the Storm. But we are currently just waiting for them to get their comms sorted out, and it looks like we don't have an update just yet. But either way, still is a great game. The one thing that we didn't really hit on is any sort of the notable numbers coming out from some of these players. I mean, Greymane being able to do 22,000 this early into the game, just seizing so much hero damage and not even getting really any kills, just assisting, but really putting out that damage to allow those kills to happen for especially the Pie Maker and Dahaka as well. Or excuse me, Stukov stealing kills.
Yeah, I mean, Rhaegar, even though being a support has always been one of those supports that had so much utility elsewhere, and we've seen a lot of nerfs come from him. He's no longer the camp soloing, carry hero that a lot of people used him as previously, but still being able to clear waves very efficiently. We've seen Rhaegar on his own a lot. And so Stark realizing he's got strength, he's got his dives. He doesn't need a Samuro to do well in this game and to push those lanes. So very, very cool to see Rhaegar kind of coming back. We see a lot of domination in terms of the support picks with Whitemane and Deckard Cain, and now definitely Tyrande. That's good to see the dog coming back here.
No, there are a lot of great values with Rhaegar, but it's just one of those things that it's just like, all right, but you could pick up Deckard Cain, who has better set up in a lot of long engagements and also just lockdown and, I mean, just Ancient Blessings. That is just such a great talent at 13 to be able to buff your entire team very, very quickly every 60 seconds at this point. And then same thing with like Alex Strauss, point control maps. She gets so much value because of that dragon form. It's so difficult to go into her in some of those situations. And so, Rhaegar, yeah, it does work. You can get camps as we have seen Stark do. The other thing too is just being able to be a little bit more aggressive and fight into the teams. I like that, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Ancestral healing is great, but what if we had like a Karazim, just more punches, more damage, 7-sided strike, percentage-based damage.
Talking about bald folk here coming in, get the Karazim as well. You know, feel right at home.
Sorry, I was like 300 ping, 300 plus ping, huh? What? And now they're talking about wolves, and I'm completely confused.
so much happening, with pings and things and references to Game of Thrones. I guess I don't know.
I didn't honestly. I'm one of those people who still haven't seen enough of the show.
I haven't seen any of it.
That would be as far as I've seen too. So we're in the same page here. That was just like, why are people talking about, why is Stark Wolf things from that show? But
yeah. Obviously, you know, British people all live in Game of Thrones. Like, that is just what it's like over there.
Yeah, that's pretty much what all of the UK is. Like, it's just Game of Thrones is just a redesigned map, right? It's still the same thing. It's just everything's just changed in labels and kind of shape.
Mm-hmm. I love the theory crafting here. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else relating to this game that we have currently paused that we can maybe speak to, but you know, I'm still very heartbroken for Jinxie Cat losing those souls immediately at getting 100. Like, that is just one of the most feel bad moments I think I've ever seen.
I'm trying to think of a feel bad moment at this point. And I think it's at least in this game is just gonna be, it's that Leoric tomb, unfortunately.
Oh,
just they stepped up and they had the possibility for it, but I just don't think the team was close enough or ready for the engagement. So they weren't able to capitalize. And so the rest, you know, Reborn Knights Black just kind of stepped and were like, all right, well, hello, Skeleton King, go back to being dead. And so that was unfortunate. But I mean, it's one of those things that, like, I talked about level 20 and having Buried Alive, and right there, that situation would have been completely different. There wouldn't have been anything that they were able to do in that situation besides step up to Leoric and attack, which would have been walking into gillySharks. But we were very early into the game here, and if they can capitalize on those fights this early and continue to pressure and push them down on the side of gillySharks, this is just going to be something they can't recover from. And that's really what they need to do on the side of Reborn Knights Black. Coming back on the side of gillyShark, how do you play into that much macro pressure? How do you play into that much just pressure in general?
I mean, if I were in that position, I would think that you're likely going to lose out a lot in the next coming level. So even likely being down 16 for a little bit, because there's a couple things you have to wait on now. You know you're down structures, you know that team fights are going to be risky, you know that your Diablo still needs to get those souls in order to really be that beefy boy that you need on the front line in those fights. So I think for now, it's for gillyShark, it's going to be really safe rotations. It's going to be simply defending, not trying to necessarily go after anything unless it's very much put on a silver platter for you to get safely. But I don't see them being entirely aggressive here. We do know for a fact they are great at the defense, though. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are in a situation where they lose a keep, maybe we're looking late game, that they're still a bit down, that they can definitely live through that defense and swing it around after that. So we've seen it happen before. It might happen again. We are still waiting on one of the members of gillyShark's internet to stop just spitting out ping like it's its job. So thanks everyone for listening to us ramble for a little bit. And by a little bit, I think it's been about 5 minutes.
and so that was actually one of the things is I didn't take note of what time we started our pause at, because they were saying once they hit the pause timer, they're just going to go with Robot Junkrat. So I think they're going to try and run out the clock, but I don't know where we started when it comes to pause timer, because like I never like it's never gone over the mark for me. I don't think.
Well, it's a 15-minute, right? So we'll say we have about like 10 minutes.
I thought it was only 15 minutes during playoffs, and it was 10 minutes during regulation. Can I Google this really quickly?
You probably can Google it. There are rules somewhere.
Somewhere there are rules.
Professional casters and referees, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Hire us, Blizzard.
Ask me how many times I've accidentally let through a Marauder Murden.
Oh dear
the
Lord.
game.
You know what's the worst is when I would accidentally leave myself a spectator and I would see a banned skin and I couldn't say anything.
Yep.
You're just
Yes.
like, well, hopefully they notice before anyone else because there's like a X amount of time. I don't know where the rules are because there are no website rules anymore.
They were posted somewhere else recently.
Oh, they were? Okay.
They were found. I think they might actually be on tournament now.
Oh.
So as I have that up, let us go to information. Let us go to the rules. If I can spell pause correctly, that'd be good.
Oh, wait, hold on. I have log, but log doesn't go up that far that day.
Let's see. Must not exceed 10 minutes per match per team.
Yes.
So I think they have about 5.
We're gonna go with 5?
Yeah.
All right. I let them know that they have 5 minutes remaining.
All right.
Do you
Do you want to take a
just,
break?
I was gonna say, do we just ramble or do you want to take it away to a BRB screen?
Yeah, we'll go to a BRB screen as we wait for these teams to get their internet to cooperate. So we will have more game shortly in at least 5 minutes. Whether or not we have a Robo Junkrat will remain to be seen, but we will be back shortly. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are going to get back to this game between gillyShark and Reborn Knights Black here. We apologize for some of the technical difficulties, but they are not necessarily resolved, but we have hit the pause marker limit for this game, so we will kick things off once these teams say they're both ready.
All right, let me find out if gillyShark ready. I didn't get just a confirm from them. We'll make sure that we have that, and then we'll go. All right, cool. We're gonna get going into this now.
Awesome, and we are back, and just in time for Reborn Knights Black to hit level 14 here.
So they're going to be getting 14s. This is going to be the top temple and the bottom temple traded out. Potentially, we actually have Kagekiri rotating in and stealing away this camp. And actually, they do get it. The Curse Bolt comes out. The flight comes in from the Pie Maker. They want to get into this fight, but I think this is going to be going over free as Kagekiri gets the Swift Strike out. Crafty Devil in a bit of a bad spot, and they're trying to make their way out. The Essence will be out for them as well. Lightning Brother out for Jinxie Cat. That will be the Ancestral Healing on top of it. Crafty Devil going to have to burrow, but in a bad spot. Jinxie Cat will be falling here. Crafty Devil falls, though, in response. Solo Kido is going to be going down. It's a 2-for-1 trade. Kagekiri is cleaning up, and they get another 2, but the thing is, they end up losing 2 themselves on the side of gillySharks.
Jinxie Cat absolutely knowing the limits of Diablo there. Even though she ends up falling, being able to know exactly how much Fire Stomp was going to get her in that scenario, and knowing how much time that she really was going to have with that Lightning Breath to really make work. The follow-up in Central coming out from Stark, absolutely money there to give a bit more time, and then the follow-up from Kagekiri just cleaning up ends up netting them 4 kills in that fight, and they were also able to bait out the taunt from Pokecheck as well toward the end of that. So being able to win out there in a really big way, they will hit 16 before their opponents here.
This Junkrat bot is absolutely killing it by getting the Garrosh over the gate, as well as Kagekiri getting, as you said it perfectly, that taunt baited out from Pokecheck, and that's a huge thing. We talked about that in draft about, you know, being able to lock down that Genji and getting that little bit of burst. If they did get that taunt, that could have been a dead Genji here, but not going to be the case, as it is going to be 16-16. Realistically, these teams need to set themselves up because the boss is going to be up in the next minute and 30 or so, and we have another temple phase activating in 30 seconds, and this is a single one in the bottom. We're going to see if they're going to play that double global into the members of gillyShark here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that get a little bit more advantage. Also, we kind of called this out a lot before, but the fact that the forts and the wells are already gone in that bottom lane on the side of gillyShark is a very big risk for them to potentially go in for that engagement for that shrine. They do have the camp pushing, though, so they could potentially get some experience there as well. Put a bit of pressure on their opponents, but the patience from them, waiting in the bushes for the right opportunity, knowing their opponents were going in on this camp, and they are going in. The Attuned is out. The Gust was there. The camp is grabbed by Gillyweed for the time being. Lightning Breath coming out, the filling swipe, trying to make some room, but the Inseparable Diablo is still there. The Ancestral is out. Junkrat will be the first to fall here. Kagekiri trying to go into that back line, ends up going down. The damage is just not there this time around. And we have 2 kills for Reborn Knights here, as they now set their eyes to cleaning the spot lane and grabbing that temple.
If they were only able to get the kills for themselves within that Entomb, that would have been huge for the members of gillySharks. They would have been able to secure this bottom temple, also pick up the bottom 4, and that would have evened up this match a little bit, brought them back into more of that kind of center structurally and across the map on a macro base. Realistically, we're just going to have them rotate off. They know that they can't take this fight without the 2 members, so they have Leoric soaking top. They're going to have 2 in mid just to play it safe. Diablo does need to get those souls back, only sitting at 74 currently, but even then, it's currently just a really, really good spot for the members of Reborn Knights Black to be in. We're just going to see how they utilize this advantage, because boss is up, and they do have the most boss control. The only thing that they'll need is their flailing swipe in 17 seconds, and they'll have the double control with that.
Yeah, and they still have the Mighty Gust up from Valset as well, so that's 2 fantastic tools to be able to secure that boss. Koning, keeping an eye there, might be sought out. Pushul goes out, it connects, so everyone knows that sights are on this boss, but I don't think gillyShark is really in a position, although they're rotating down to potentially fight this.
Garrosh is going to go ahead and get a little bit of a reposition. Koenig is going to go ahead and get the damage reduction as they do start to step in on this. This is a lot of damage going out onto Leorc. They actually get the kill right away onto that member of the team. This is Boss is going over. The Lightning Breath will be coming out as well. No Boss control used. That is going to be the Gust coming out. There's the Flaming Slip as well. The Ancestral Healing doesn't connect in time. Diablo falls here. That is going to be Genji as well. They pick up the boss once again in almost the same fashion. Junkrat bot getting out of here as Stark makes a retreat as well. And that is a second boss of the game going over to Reborn Knights Black.
Yeah, and that last shrine also taking down this keep means that this boss is going right to the core of gillyShark. Koenig, I appreciate the positioning. I think they were waiting perhaps for the right moment to put down the Entomb as a bit of a zoning mechanic to kind of cancel out anything like the Mighty Gust. But falling right before then, the rest of gillyShark trying to see if they can potentially do something up top. This core is falling fast. Game number 1 going over to the side of Reborn Knights Black here, Bahamut.
That game 1, I gotta, it's the double global was a lot of pressure, and the amount of control that they had in all the team fights was so powerful. That's the one thing that I think we didn't really hit on much in the draft and much throughout the game is if a fight was going south for the members of Reborn Knights Black, they had Gust, they had Flailing Swipe, they had a lot of good disengage tools. They also just had a lot of good engage tools if the fight was going their way, and it did for the latter half of the match. There were a couple early game picks that really just won it. I wouldn't say won it for them on the side of gillyShark, but that momentum that they got with the double global and also being able to kind of, put on some pressure during some of these fights. If you had top lane kind of a mounting with a mass of minions and you had Dahaka burrow bottom, that means that the fight needs to go quicker on the side of gillyShark so they can, deal with that top lane pressure. And well, if they have to do that too quickly, they rush the fight, and it seems like that's kind of what happens sometimes. They almost were rushing too many of these engagements, and they realistically just need to play it a little bit slower. They had a lot of good tools. They had a lot of good fight in them, but unfortunately, it's just taunts coming out. Like I'm looking at this last fight right now, and they tried to stand on the point. They had so much value, but that Gust just repositioning everyone. They need a Flailing Swipe on top of that. That is just, it was a bit too much for them on the side of gillySharks, but we'll see. Game number 2 could be a completely different story, as that was the map in favor for the members of Reborn Knights Black. We're now going to gillyShark's map picks, so maybe we see something special on this map.
Yeah, I mean, gillyShark themselves tend to do really well on these larger maps, and they're one of the few teams I feel that pull out Cursed Hollow very often here in NGS, so it's definitely something that they have no problem running, as we've seen in the past. It's whether or not we see the similar bans coming out from Reborn. We talked about in that last draft how Kagekiri likes that solo support Abathur. And the Samuro ban is seemingly going to be an obvious one here.
Now, the question is, and I was actually thinking about this middle of our last game. I was just like, wait, the next map is going to be Cursed Hollow, and Abathur is often played here. This is the map where they try and run a lot of those synergies with Abathur, Dahaka, and had that solo support as well. And then we also see Samuro played a lot too. But if those things are already getting targeted out in game number 1, I can't expect them to be picked up for game number 2. And unfortunately, I think Stark's going to be stuck on a different hero once again. We'll have to see, though. I mean, do they make an adjustment? Do they play something that we haven't seen before? Or do they try and just play maybe a standard comp and just say, you know what, we're going to focus around having the power of Hanzo, and as well as just maybe a good fight and a lot of control within that fight? Or do they just go on that macro side? I'm not sure. They've got a lot of good options on both sides, realistically.
Yeah, and I mean, what's also important to note is that for this next game, we are going to have Chymotrypsin coming in place of Chess Looter. So that's the support role that now is covered. We saw Stark playing Rhaegar last game, so it's something that they don't necessarily have to put onto Stark. So it's going to give him a bit more freedom to maybe pull out some other heroes that perhaps he's a bit more comfortable with as well.
That's a good point. I actually just now noticed that, because I looked over at Twitch chat, and I was like, someone was joking about like filling in. I was just like, wait, who is? I thought Gillyweed was gonna fill in for one of the games. I was like, I don't know. Like, as long as the teams are cool with it, I think that's pretty much the rule. At least that's the rule that I follow.
Right.
I just want to see Heroes of the Storm. If we can get Gillyweed to come play in the Nexus Gaming Series, that would just be the best. But we're gonna be going into our game number 2 here, Cat Peach, and I am ecstatic about this.
Yeah, much like Sky Temple, another map where bosses are a very big deal here. Very much can swing the game one way or another. The Insta-Samuro ban, as expected.
Instant.
Just,
Instant.
is
No
it
fun.
really that bad? You know, like, is it though?
I just want to point out that in draft chat, which you cannot see, the pie maker is apologizing, and no, actually, the other half of the team is just saying that they're not really sorry at all. So we have pretty much the same bands coming out from these two. Did RK win? Yes, they did. They did win game number 1. Sorry, I'm looking over at your Twitch chat. But
No, it's how dare you look at my Twitch chat?
how dare you look at but this is the Hanzo. This is what we were kind of talking back and forth a little bit about. Hanzo being a very, very high priority in this map, especially in my opinion, because of the fact of his W build. Once you get that level 7 serrated arrow, or is it serrated arrow? But either way, having the cooldown reduction at 7, I think that's actually 4, but either way, the cooldown reduction at 7, being able to double boss so quickly, that's huge. But Dahaka for global and Genji to follow up on the damage, I like the start from gillyShark.
Yeah, I mean, comfort picks definitely coming out for Kagekiri. That Genji coming out, also the global pressure from Dahaka was something that they were very much missing on Sky Temple. So being able to have a bit more resources dedicated to that wave clear, we're gonna see ourselves a white main here with a Johanna. We often see white main get banned out or simply just not picked up here in NGS, so I'm really happy we're starting to see teams figure out how they want to play with her and pulling her into these drafts.
I'm like 50-50 on white main. I really think it comes down to the player themselves, because I've seen phenomenal ones and I've seen ones just get absolutely bodied. But that's once again a tracer ban. That is all just pretty much picks that Reborn Knights Black are strong with that are getting banned out. And what do we get in this? Do we see a Diablo ban? Do they try and choke out some of the tank pool? No, they take out Kaiba Tripson's Decker.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to see the Tyrande ban again, but knowing that Kaimo is the one coming back here in the support role, we're going to see that Decker Cane blocked out. Very valuable here for a lot of scouting and really stalling on those tributes as well. So I really like that ban as well. But it does leave that Tyrande, who also has great poke around these tributes, especially with those owls. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the pick. And it is along with that Diablo for Jinxie Cat. So we get a Tyrande here. And that is scary around those tributes for sure.
The other thing too is I think that was a synergy that they did take away in that game number 1. We talked a little bit about that, having that Tyrande banned out there. Diablo Tyrande, great combination. Being able to follow up stuns, being able to have follow up damage. The other thing too is to have basically a mini cleanse at level 1. As long as you're auto attacking, that comes off a cooldown. But that is a Malthael, which that is a preferred choice from Reborn Knights Black. But we also get the Jaina on top of that. Oh, I am loving this.
I love the blizzard damage.
Nope, I love this more.
I can't say I was really thinking too much about the Medivh. I was thinking probably not more poke, because there's a lot of poke already on the team, but some additional damage. But instead, we're getting the little bird that keeps an eye on everyone in this game.
Medivh's going to be coming in. This is such a great synergy that we're going to be seeing too. Medivh with the Leyline Seal, and then you have Diablo with the Apocalypse. I don't think this is going to be a Lightning Breath Diablo. I think this is all going to be about locking them down and having Genji being able to slice and dice like the deli chef that he is.
I'm not going to unsee that anymore, by the way. It's all I'm going to think about is just one giant sword. What we should do at BlizzCon is buy that replica Genji sword and just buy a thing of deli meat to slice. Yes. Clearly, good money spent there. But yeah, the APOC combo that you talked about is absolutely a threat here. But you can't discount the fact that there's a Hanzo on the other team. And Hanzo, with that vision, with that boss clear, a lot of tools there, the poke as well. It's not going to be the easiest ride for gillyShark. But last game was pretty close, so who knows?
Who knows indeed? But let's go ahead and get into this. Game number 2. On the left-hand side, we're going to be having gillyShark trying to even out the score 1-1. We have Kagekiri on the Genji, Kaimo Tripson going to be on the Tyrande, JinxieKat going to be on the Diablo, Kona going to be on the Dahaka, and Stark going to be playing the Birdman Medivh.
And in the red, we have Reborn Knights Black up 1 game. We're going to have Dolch on the Jaina, the Pie Maker on that Hanzo. We're going to have Crafty Devil on Malthael, Poke Check on Johanna, and Sulk Skiddo is going to be on Whitemane.
The one thing I didn't mention it at all because I was still excited about this Medivh, I think Medivh is actually a perfect last pick because they saw the Malthael. So protection, by the way, last rights. And I think that's the goal. They're trying to make sure that they protect against all those last rights that are going to be coming out from Crafty Devil, and making sure that they do not get those stacks as the game progresses past 10. Because realistically, that is a lot of their burst and a lot of their finishing damage. Some of these members have high mobility or will easily get away from that range of that last rights. Or they're just too beefy. Like, for example, Dahaka, not going to probably be a target because they'll just be able to burrow anytime that pops up. So I think this late game is going to be really, really interesting between these two teams. And I said it for the last game, and it really was. So I'm just hoping for 2 games of just epic play in this last week of the Nexus Gaming Series.
You know, I don't think I've seen a Stark Medivh, to be entirely honest. At least that I can't recall.
I can't think of one either.
But if we're basing it based on the Rhaegar play that we saw some very excellent last-minute ancestral healing coming out from him in that game, in that first game. Mm-hmm. So the idea of those last-minute protects coming in, absolutely viable. A lot of times when teams draft someone like a Medivh, I always have to question how much do they really fully understand the hero and how well it's going to work with what has been drafted. With gillyShark, though, they absolutely have that understanding. And so Stark, there's a lot of pressure on him, sure, but I think it's pressure that he'll be able to rise to the challenge with.
And that's a big thing to know. And actually, Kona getting pushed back in bottom lane a little bit by that Jane in the solo lane. We'll have to see how that shapes out here. But Kaimo Tripson stepping up, the Pie Maker in a little bit of a bad spot. The portal goes in. They're looking for the kill. They're getting the shadow charge from downtown with JinxieKat. They're taking a lot of damage. Gonna need to make sure that they don't die here. And that actually will be first kill of the game, going over in favor for Reborn Knights Black.
Yeah, the damage now going out to Kaimo Tripson. Crafty Devil making his way over there, trying to make sure Tyrande can't live another day. The portal is there for the save, but Tyrande already took the damage, ends up falling the traces onto Kagekiri, the Pie Maker, one Shimada to another. Hanzo killing Genji yet again here. Something that Hanzo seems to like to do to his brother.
Pie Maker studied their geometry before going into this match because they got the angles for that kill so perfectly, and we are going to be having the first tribute spawning with everyone back and alive, but that invade onto this camp was real risky, as they do have vision from that Tyrande Owl going to go across the map, but they're going to set themselves up on the side of gillyShark, not going for their hard camp and just making sure that they're in the right position before this first objective pops up. Now, just really quickly on the note, there have been already 3 kills. That's only yielded them 1,000 experience, and realistically, the difference between the two teams, only a level. It's very early game level, so we'll see how this shapes out as Pokecheck in a bit of a bad spot. Repositioned here, Cat Peach.
Yeah, the Pokecheck trying to go in, trying to get the blinds onto Kaimo. Crafty Devil coming around from the backside, though. But that's leaving Pokecheck to deal with all that damage by themselves, to go down first. Dolce then being the focus. Jaina going to follow. And look how quickly that experience has been gained for gillyShark. They were 5 versus 6, now they're looking almost as a 6 versus a 6.5. So very quickly being able to go into those fights. The spread from Malthael, I like the theory of trying to get around to that backside, trying to keep the poke up onto that tribute for a little while longer. But when your team is split up like that, it gives your opponents the opportunity to take advantage of that. And that's exactly what gillyShark was able to do. And take down Johanna and Jaina in that skirmish. So it's put them back into this game on even footing.
And they actually are going to go ahead and push into mid lane a little hard here. They want to try and get those 7s as well as just be very aggressive and just trying to open up the map. That is a huge thing about this game, is just opening up the map against your opponent. As we currently have 7s achieved by the members of Reborn Knights Black, and gillyShark not too far behind, but we should have our second objective of the game popping up fairly soon here, as we should have also rotations off to get at least the hard camp on the side of gillyShark, or maybe they're just posturing for the Bruise. Ooh, siege camp a little early.
Yeah, they're scoping out a little bit early. It would provide a bit of that further away pressure that can't be cleared as quickly, but it's giving Reborn Knights here the opportunity to already set up camp around this tribute. We're trying to tie it up in count 1-1, so we'll have to see if gillyShark, are they going to want to fight this, or are they going to simply give it away? Kagekiri taking a lot of damage before it even spawns, though.
Currently have the availability of Dahaka to brush talk in, but the thing is they're posturing right around this bush. If they actually went into that bush with the Dahaka, it'd be bad news. We'll currently see if it's available. As Pokecheck stepping up, the rest of the team is kind of playing in that back line, waiting for the entry. The Dahaka gets the burrow. They stepped up, and this is going to be them walking into this fight here. They get the tongue drag onto the Malthea. They're looking for the damage. The portal forward. They want to take this aggressive fight. Jinxie Cat a little bit low, but they know they can do it if they just get under that back line. Jinxie Cat having to go through the portal once again just to back out of here, and this looks like it's a retreat for the members of gillyShark.
Yeah, without that front line, they're trying to back away, but Crafty Devil says absolutely not and takes down the Devil himself. So this is now a 4v5. gillyShark still staying around. The stun's coming out from Kaimo, but I imagine they're going to give up this tribute and try to at least, again, there's not a lot of experience to make up just yet from those kills, but if they keep going one at a time in that fashion, that kind of experience is going to mean a lot in the race toward 10. Koenig had a very aggressive rotation, a very aggressive burrow as well, just burrowing right into the middle of that last team fight as well, which was able to body for some time, but Diablo just not being able to escape that fight alive.
I love the use of all the owls consistently, whether or not they're actually hitting heroes with them. That it's really not what I'm looking for. Is actually it's the vision on the map. So if they actually don't hit heroes, that's good for them because then they get that full vision. If they catch a hero on mid, I do believe it doesn't pierce anymore, so it doesn't have that availability to go right through them and just be like, oh, okay, what? And so they actually, I love that they check boss as well to make sure that the team wasn't posturing for that. But we currently have a gank potentially going on to Koenig.
Koenig uses the burrow, but only buys just a little bit of time. The immediate blizzard coming out, the damage from Whitemane, and the rest of Reborn being able to take out that pesky dinosaur. Stark scouting out the tribute, but I don't think there's really going to be too much of a defense here from gillyShark. It won't be tribute point just yet, but come the next tribute, both teams will have 10 by that point. And that's really where it's going to matter. And we're going to see the immediate boss call right after that. And Reborn were in a great position to come and make this call. The owl coming out, getting that vision. But I think the members of gillyShark a bit too spread to, one, get a response boss call, or two, steal this boss away. But Stark going in, trying to.
Oh my god, no! The stacks.
The Master's Touch stacks are gone. That was a very aggro Medivh.
So I was watching the experience bars, and I honestly think that they were just looking for the apocalypse. What that's the lightning breath. What? I was thinking that he was gonna drop down. That he was waiting for that 10. He'd have the leyline seal. He'd be able to finish out his stacks and then be able to bird away, maybe even steal the boss. But it's not going to be the case here, and they lose. God, that's the worst, to be able to lose like 37, 38 stacks, because I looked at it was 36 before he landed, so he got real close, but you got to start right back over, as this is going to be 10-10, and the next tribute, potentially curse available for the members of Reborn Knights Black, as Crafty Devil starts the channel cap.
Yeah, the channel has start. The scout is there from Stark. The arcane goes out to stop it for the time being. The leyline going out, catching 3. Jinxie Cat getting set up for the charge. It goes right on in. Starfall coming out from Kaimo, but Medivh going to fall first here. The lightning breath coming out. The members of gillyShark split here, so the focus now onto Jinxie Cat and Kagekiri as they try to at least peel and get the focus away from Dahaka and Tyrande. That's going to be 3 going down while trying to defend away this tribute, which is also going
this
to...
is such a smart play.
This is a super smart play. We see the chunking coming out from Hanzo and how much damage he can put onto this boss. So they're going to grab this box quickly. This is going to be a curse and a boss pushing into the structures of gillyShark.
I wouldn't be too surprised if there was a heavy focus on the bottom lane. Stark trying to just to stall this out as best as they can. Also going to go ahead and just pop through that portal without a deal. But that is going to be the curse in favor for Reborn Knights Black. And they will push bottom lane very, very hard as 5 members. Dahaka's in that top still. Could go for a flank. Everyone is alive on gillyShark. We'll see what they're able to do here. It's semi-heroics available for both teams.
Yeah, and Reborn Knights have full confidence in that boss, letting it take down the fort entirely on its own during this curse and instead start to prep this keep wall. The members of gillyShark 13 is almost here for the opponent, so they're trying to push away this push as much as they can while they don't have that advantage, but I don't know if they're going to be able to net a kill before 13 hits, and they don't. The Starfall was out, but the defense is on, and gillyShark being very careful with that positioning, not wanting to charge in too deep. Jinxie Cat, the Lightning Breath is going to come out. The Leyline Seal kind of negating a little bit of that damage at the same time. The X-Ray coming out, trying to follow up, but Medivh and Diablo are going to fall here, and the rest of gillyShark now on the retreat. Dahaka is the next focus. Koenig tried to use the Burrow to get away, but Pokecheck being able to make sure Dahaka does not survive.
And won't be able to survive, and they move their way onto the boss. Now, Medivh's still going to be back in 5 seconds. They have the availability for this. No Leyline Seal up. They're starting to chunk down this core. It's already lost its shielding. White Mane dealing some decent damage onto Kage Kiri. The Blessed Shield will be coming out as well, locking a couple members down. They're trying to get this burst onto a couple of these low-health heroes around the core with that spread damage, but Genji will be falling first. Medivh to fall in the backline. This core looks like it's going to be going down, and that's game number 2 going over to Reborn Knights Black. GG, well played.
2-0 for Reborn Knights in an 11-minute Cursed Hollow game. A map that we were talking about is one of gillyShark's favorites here. Able to really take control over that entire match.
Now, the one thing I will say this, I mean, there's a little bit of an asterisk with this. I will note that, gillyShark did lose one of their members midway through that first game, and they also did sub in someone for the second game. But at the same time, it was still a phenomenal match. And the one thing I wanted to point out that I didn't say anything about because the match kept going, we didn't even see last rites from the Malthael. We had tormented souls. Like, either the Medivh was just enough where they were like, well, we don't have targets anymore, or they were fine with taking tormented souls regardless. I gotta say, these teams played amazing matches, but Reborn Knights Black absolutely did a phenomenal job coming out here tonight and saying, you know what? Doesn't matter what you play, doesn't matter what you're gonna try and play, sneak into us. We are going to be cleaning up with a lot of our members, and they did a notable job of that.
Yeah, and I mean, that final game-ending push coming out from Reborn Knights as well was such a... There were so many pieces there that I think a lot of teams likely would have overlooked. I think a lot of teams would have said, we got the boss pushing in the bottom lane, let's try to push somewhere else and really kind of snowball more of the structural lead. But instead saying, you know what, it's Curse, it's boss, let's just kind of push this lane and see where it goes, and netted them getting into the core. So the damage being able to come out from all those members, there was a lot of damage coming out from Reborn Knights as a whole. Knowing exactly where their strengths and weaknesses were, getting 14 kills to 2 of their opponent in that game as well. Really commanding the entire experience, I would say.
They really did a great job of controlling the map, controlling the pacing, and a lot of the fights they were just kind of, in control of. Overall, it was a great game for them, but at the same time, gillyShark still showed up. They'd played in a phenomenal game, but I just think it was a couple of those little hiccups here and there throughout that match.
Yeah, for sure. But for now, it looks like we're actually going to be talking to the Pie Maker after that match to get their thoughts on that series. So let's pull them in. Hello, Pie Maker.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good. Congratulations on your 2-0. How are you feeling after that set, my friend?
Thank you. I feel quite good. Was a little scared there in the first game when, we started out with double globals and down a little bit by experience. So this we finally got our groove, and then post pause, we re-lost it. So I was a little scared, but feel pretty happy with how we did tonight.
Yeah, especially, we were just kind of commenting on that game number 2 and just how quickly and how much control you had over Cursed Hollow. Coming into this series, we were talking about, it's kind of a favorite of gillyShark. Was that something you were keeping in mind when you were preparing for this matchup at all? Or was it something that you were just kind of flying at the seat of your pants with during that match?
No, we knew Cursed Hollow was a map that could potentially take us to, and kind of looking at their map preferences, we, kind of just identified that a lot of the maps they like, we also like. So we were, completely fine with them taking us to Cursed because it's a map that we kind of like to play on as well. And so we were kind of prepared to go there.
Yeah, your play styles do seem to be very similar to that of gillyShark. You both focus a lot on a lot of that macro pressure. So do you think it's more difficult or a bit easier to face an opponent who has a very similar playstyle to yours?
I was actually kind of terrified going into this series because they do have such, a macro heavy style. They've been competing really well with like all of the, they're one of the top in the division. So I think it's kind of harder going into another kind of macro heavy team because a lot of the advantages we're used to getting that kind of help us snowball wins we can't get, and then we have to win them, you know, via team fights and all the other aspects of the game. We can't just kind of rely on that macro. So
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Bahamut, I will pass it over to you.
Well, yes. I'll also start by saying congratulations on your 2-0. Those were amazing matches to watch. Now, let's talking about draft for game number 2 a little bit. You guys ended up pulling out the Malfield Jaina in the last 2 slots and actually playing Jaina a little bit in that solo lane into the Dahaka, which I'll ask you about a little bit later. But the Malfield, was the intention always to have the last rights, and the Medivh coming out with that protection status was kind of like, well, let's change it up? Or can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's an adaptation that we haven't seen in a very long time, and Malfield really being heavily focused around those last rights and those stacking. Did you have to change the playstyle at all, or was your? I've seen Crafty Devil has been playing quite a bit, so were they just comfortable with playing whatever?
yeah, no, he's really comfortable with. Yeah, I mean, even non-meta builds on Malthael, he's comfortable with, and he's been playing Malthael for so long that he was the Malthael main back when that ult was the one to go. So, that was actually a really kind of genius call on his part. When we started the game, he looked at it and he's like, "Wait, I don't think this is a last rights game." Yeah, and we were like, "You know what? You're right." And like this, it was kind of perfect to go into when you think about it. I mean, they don't have any kind of burst damage to punish the Malthael taking the ult. They had a lot of like beefy frontliners. They and then had the protected for last right. So I think it was a really kind of smart play. And he's really good at kind of changing his play style for the different kind of styles of dive in Malthael, poke Malthael, that kind of thing. Macro Malthael.
It definitely showed throughout the match. It was really strong. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, Jaina in the solo lane going into the Dahaka, was that something that you guys were confident with, or were you just like, all right, well, we just need to have this for a little bit of here and there. It's not going to be something that's going to need to sustain throughout the entire match, and they're going to play it like they're going to be cleaning up after the Dahaka? Because it seemed I caught that a couple times where they were just laning there.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it's how the laning setup somehow shook out at times. But the nice thing with Jaina is, and a lot of the kind of like wave clear heavy mages, that they can hold the lane by just clearing the wave, making sure the minions aren't getting too much damage. And ultimately, what we wanted from that position was we needed more wave clear to kind of deal with potential curses and create wave clear pressure. And Jaina also brought a lot to the team fight, which is kind of why we went with that. I don't think the Dahaka matchup was intended to be specifically what happened, but
it just kind of shook out that way here.
Played out that way, yeah.
They were phenomenal games. I absolutely had a blast casting them with Cat Peach here. But that's it for me. I'll pass it back over to her.
And I'm actually going to pass it back to you, Pie Maker, because I am going to give you a chance to do some shout-outs before you let go.
Thank you. Well, thanks to y'all for casting. It's always exciting to go back and watch casts, and y'all are both fantastic, so it's always fun watching your cast.
No, you.
Thank you to Reborn Knights, who is the organization that sponsors us. They're fantastic. They provide a lot of support. I haven't checked chat, but we probably have some people in there.
You absolutely did have people cheering for you, so.
Do we?
Yes, you did.
Yes,
fantastic. You did.
So they're great for so many different ways. Whoop. I want to thank my team because they've put in a lot of work, and they're fantastic to play with. And they didn't kill me after I set up a back-to-back set of matches tonight, because we're about to go straight into a match after this.
Ooh, well, good luck with that, buddy. I was actually I was trying to find out when your next match was, but now we know. So good luck.
It's like in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, we'll let you go. Good luck to that. Yeah. Good luck in playoffs as well. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Much appreciated.
All right. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are also going to take a break because we have another match coming up here, this time from Division A. We're going to have Divine 9 versus Mono Miracle, which might be some names, you know?
Some good names. It's going to be a good match. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Stay here. Watch more heroes.
Right here. We have 20. Actually, also, big shout outs to Palindrome for the host earlier. So for all you that came into those matches, welcome. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll have more matches soon. So we'll see you at 8 o'clock.